Hello there everybody, welcome back to another video here on my channel. So once again I'm doing some videos, and I know I haven't really done a recent one. The last one that I did was on my PlayStation 3. I did a game of Wheel of Fortune and Madden 08. I had to think about what year it was. So they released so many over the years, and a lot of times, usually 90% of the time, I say the wrong name of the game. So I'm here with a video to do a video game update. It has been a pretty good while since I've done that, but most of the people, are playing emulators, like they're doing that kind of stuff, like on your gaming PCs or laptops or anything like that. And there's a lot of people that don't really collect like the vintage gaming anymore, mainly because of the fact that they sit around and people don't really want to collect them anymore. And once again, because they just prefer to do it, with emulation. And there are some that collect some of those systems, like the Retro Duo systems, the ones that play like Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. There are some systems that play just Nintendo or just Super Nintendo and all that. But I have a system that plays Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis games, and they do go for a good amount of money sometimes. I got this one like for $100, and I think that's a pretty good deal. But I do like to have the classic video game stuff too, but sometimes they can, clutter up sometimes, and then be like, okay, I don't feel like, I want this anymore, and sometimes I sell them or just give them back to the place I bought them from. But yeah, now I'm just trying to like build them up again because I don't have a gaming PC anymore. I unfortunately sold it because of the fact that it was an older model and it needed a better graphics card too, because the one I had in it was like 2 or 4 gigabytes, something like that. And a good graphics card is something that's like at least over 10 gigabytes or 12 gigabytes, something like that. I'm still trying to get used to that kind of stuff because of the fact that I always had like a laptop over the years, and I did have a gaming PC before, but I sold it years ago because of pretty much a mistake on my part. But yeah, not gonna get into detail. But anyway, I went to a yard sale about, I think it was about close to 2 weeks ago or something like that. And I didn't know that it was a friend of mine that runs a pawn shop, and he was actually having a yard sale. I've heard him say that he has like yard sales and all that, and I didn't expect it, to be him. His name is Chris, and he is a pretty cool guy, but sometimes there are some things that he does have that can be a little bit too much, like he sells something and I want to say to him, can you take like a little bit less of this item, or can you like, well, basically just I want to say to him, can you like, do a little bit less for this item. He sells PS5 systems, but he gets them in, occasionally and stuff. Mostly he does have Nintendo stuff, and then Sega and Super Nintendo and some Nintendo 64 stuff. But of course he has like lots of DVDs and Blu-rays and some vinyl records too. But like I said, there are some things that he sells sometimes that he probably could do a little bit less for. But he usually does give me a good deal because I come in a good amount of times. Sometimes, well, before it was like to sell stuff, but now it's just mostly I buy stuff from him, and yeah. So hopefully I'll try and like build another gaming PC, or I'll get like a gaming laptop, one of those things, even though I think people pretty much prefer to get a gaming PC. But I will try and look into that, but I still got to file my taxes, and still I'm going to try and do that sometime this week, and hopefully I get a good return. And sorry, if I have the door open in the back, it's raining at the moment and stuff, and we're supposed to be getting some bad weather today, but hopefully it really won't be too bad. So yeah. So anyway, I went to the yard sale for this guy, and I wound up picking up some games, and they're all different systems. I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So like 3 of them that are like the same system, one that's just for one system, the other that's for one system, and 2 that are for the same system. So this is pretty much all of them. So here we go. We'll get right into this because I do got to hurry this up a little bit because I do have to go to work. Not really looking forward to that, but a lot of people really don't. But yeah. So the first one I got is for the Nintendo or the NES, and it's WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge. Now this one I never really played before actually, and it features wrestlers on here. I'm trying to see who, well, I know the rest of them. We got the Macho Man, we got Bret Hart, The Undertaker, the Mountie, and I can't tell who this other wrestler is because it's just not really, hold on one second. I can't really tell, unfortunately, in the thing there. I mean, if anybody can, like, tell who that wrestler is right there, I mean, I don't think it's Hulk Hogan. I mean, it looks like somebody to me, but it tells you, you know, who it usually is. But anyway, this is like one of the early games that featured The Undertaker, because The Undertaker started around late 1990 when he came to the Survivor Series and was the mystery partner for Ted DiBiase's $1 Million Team. Originally, it was supposed to be Bad News Brown, from what I heard, but he wound up leaving WWF. He was either fired or he left. I think he probably was let go, but I'm probably wrong about that. But, let's see. The Undertaker originally was supposed to have a different gimmick, but instead they made him the mystery partner for the $1 Million Team, and I am really glad that they did, because originally it was supposed to be something else he was supposed to do. You can look it up and see like his podcast, and he'll talk about what originally he was supposed to do. Yeah, and you will probably be extremely disappointed, you know, what they almost made him do. But anyway, I believe this game is from 1991, because again, I really did not own this. I really just preferred to play the games like the Royal Rumble and WWF Raw for the Sega Genesis. And those I don't really have right now in my possession, because I did have them before, but many years ago I had to move, unfortunately, and sell a lot of stuff. And I did get most of them back, but then I wound up selling them back because sometimes just go through money struggles. But the job that I had before wasn't really paying a whole lot, but now the one I have now pays more. And yeah, but still trying to build them back up, and eventually I'm pretty sure it will get there. But anyway, that's the first game that I got. Next one I got, these stupid notifications keep going off my phone, driving me crazy. I keep seeing them pop up. Next one I have is a game show game, and I know a lot of you probably do like my gameplays of game shows, and some of you may like some other stuff, you know, I do too, like the wrestling games or anything else I do on my channel. This one I got is from my childhood days, and this is a very fun game, and this is Wheel of Fortune featuring Vanna White. As you know, I am a huge fan of Wheel of Fortune, but I don't really care for it right now because Ryan Seacrest, I think, is a absolute disappointment. But unfortunately, Pat Sajak decided to retire from the game show world, but Vanna White has now, well, she's still on the show for probably the next 2 or 3 years, something like that. I don't really know. I thought maybe they would get Pat Sajak's daughter, Maggie Sajak, and be the host, but I don't think it would really make sense for a woman to host it, because Vanna White did it while Pat Sajak was out, like around 2021 or one of those years. And honestly, Vanna White wasn't really all that great. You know, she looked extremely nervous and didn't really look like that she was comfortable doing it, because Pat Sajak had been doing it since the early 80s. Pat Sajak started, and the letter turner at that time was Susan Stafford. It wound up being Vanna White around 1982 or 83, one of those years, I don't really remember. And crazy but true fact, Vanna White was also a contestant on The Price is Right, but Vanna White never made it out of contestants row. She got called down at the beginning of the show. She was like the 4th person, and excuse me, she was in contestants row like the first time, and then the second half came up, and she unfortunately was stuck in contestants row. She never got up on stage. And of course, that was when Bob Barker was hosting. And imagine if Vanna White had been called, had, you know, gotten up on stage with Bob Barker and probably won a car or played Plinko or anything like that. That would have been pretty interesting. But they did, you know, show like highlights and stuff, you know, when Vanna White These notifications are driving me crazy. They keep going off, but I should have, like, turned them off before I done this video, but it's okay. Anywho, as for this game, this game is very, very fun to play, because there are some Wheel of Fortune games that can be maybe a little difficult sometimes, but not as difficult as Jeopardy, I think. Because Jeopardy, there are games that are standard editions, and you do have junior editions and sports editions, and you know me, I always do the junior editions and the sports edition, but I do have much, struggle sometimes with the sports editions, but the junior editions not so much. And there is a Wheel of Fortune Junior Edition as well, but most of the puzzles are fairly easy, but there are some that may be like, you might say, oh, I don't know who that person is, or, yeah. But yeah, I had this game, a lot of times back in the day, and I played it with my mom and my aunt, because there'd be a contestant that would, like, make a face, like if she hit a bankrupt or lose a turn, or I think pretty much any time before she called a letter, and we call her lips, her lips get like all big or whatever, or just be like that. But that was always, fun to play, and that's pretty much what this one is too. They also have like a version of this for the DOS, I think, the Disk Operating System. That's what it stands for. And this game, I think, was only like $5 or something like that, maybe less than that, because if it had like the case with it, it'd probably be a little bit more. But it's really fun to play. I mean, the only thing is it doesn't have Pat Sajak in the game. They didn't have one of Pat Sajak until they had the Wheel of Fortune for the Nintendo Wii, which is around the year of 2009, I think. Not long, unfortunately, before we lost the announcer, Charlie O'Donnell. He was the announcer of the game show from the late 80s until 2010, I think. And then they had some other people replacing him, and then they had Jim Thornton, who is the current announcer, who actually does a pretty good job. But Ryan Seacrest, like I said, don't really care for what he does. But there you go. Alright, next game is going to be for another system, and that is this one. This is MLB 99, and this features Cal Ripken Jr. of the Baltimore Orioles. I've had this game before. Case is a little bit cracked a little bit, but that's all right, and the game itself is pretty good. This is only like maybe a $5 game pretty much, because sports games just don't really go for a lot, unfortunately, but unless they're like rarities or anything like that, but this one definitely is not. And this is the rare time, they have an Oriole on the cover of a baseball game. Brady Anderson was on the cover of bottom of the ninth, 99, I think, or I think it was 99. I used to have that game. It was on PlayStation, and I wish I did still have that, but I'll have to find it for the right price, hopefully. And as for this game, this is really good because Vin Scully does commentary on this, the guy that was the announcer for the Dodgers, and he also did a few other games too. And I think it's just Vin Scully in this one, because in the later years they did have Dave Campbell doing commentary, I think, with him as well too. My God, will these notifications please stop? Oh my God. Ooh. Anyway, this does feature Barry Bonds, because there are video games of baseball games that do not have Barry Bonds. The last time Barry Bonds was in a baseball game was probably MLB 2005, maybe, something like that, around 2004, one of those years, because when we got to MVP Baseball 2005, we did not have Barry Bonds. We had a guy named John Dowd, and if you know who he is, you know who I'm talking about. But if you don't know who he is, he's a character on the San Francisco Giants, and he's pretty much the Barry Bonds person, but it's not, of course, him. And then they had games where they had people like Reggie Stocker and Wes Mailman, which is from the All-Star Baseball series. He was in All-Star Baseball 2005. And the other one that I mentioned, Reggie Stocker, was in MLB The Show 16. He was like the person you can unlock, like if you collected all the MLB teams. I think for all the American League was, I don't remember who the collection was, but for the National League, I think it was Reggie Jackson. It might have been Ted Williams, I think, for the American League. I think I'm wrong on that one. I don't really remember, because I remember, or it might have been Cal Ripken Jr. I think he was for the American League East. Yeah, all the American League, it wasn't George Brett, because he wasn't in the game yet. I think 17 he was. But MLB The Show 16, the collections for the American League, I want to say it was Ted Williams. National League was Jackie Robinson, and the whole entire league, the American League and National League, was Reggie Stocker. And of course, it was Barry Bonds. It was just a person, with his batting stance, well, kind of like Gary Sheffield, a little bit like holding the bat like that and then swings the bat, and yeah. But yeah, like I said, last time Barry Bonds was in a baseball game was sometime around 2004 or 2005. But yeah, and he was on the cover for MLB 2003, I think it was, because Andrew Jones, I think it was on 2002, something like that. But anyway, this is a very good game, if you like baseball, you won't be disappointed with that game. Okay? Now the next one, and I feel a sneeze coming on. Sorry. But anyway, next one I got is a game for a different system, and that is NASCAR The Inside Line. Yes, it is a Nintendo Wii game, and I usually prefer these kind of games like on PlayStation or Xbox 360. Well, I think this is mostly for PS3 and the other one for Xbox 360, because we didn't have PS4 yet or Xbox One until like sometime in 2014 or late 2013, I think. And I think this game is from at least late 2012 or 13, one of those years, and it features Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the cover. The official NASCAR experience, as it says on the back, and it says some stuff that you are required to use. Like, it does have the classic controller, the Wii remote, and the nunchuck. I don't have the nunchuck, but I do have the classic controller. I have not played it yet. Until I get a gaming PC or gaming laptop, either one, I can start filming games. I can't really do it with this phone because it doesn't really hold up that well. And you remember, like, back in the day, when we did games, we would use camcorders and our phones sometimes as well. But yeah, for this game, I played this on the I think it was PS3 or Xbox 360. I probably played both, but both versions, were pretty good. But I think I preferred it on Xbox 360 because they also had NASCAR The Game 2011, which was a really, really good game. You could, like, create your own car and stuff. Well, I would create Dale Earnhardt's car because they did not have him in the game for copyrights, I guess, as a stupid Teresa Earnhardt, his widow, well, whichever way it is for female, but still, in this one, they don't have Dale Earnhardt in it. They don't really have legends in it, but they have Jeff Gordon, the Busch brothers, Kyle and Kurt, Tony Stewart, I think, is still in this. Martin Truex, I believe, is in it. I don't know about Mark Martin or Dale Jarrett. I think both of them are not, because I think they were retired. I mean, around this time, I stopped watching NASCAR. I mean, I watched, like, game or shows or races. That's the word I was trying to say. I would watch, like, some of them, occasionally, like if it was Daytona, Talladega, or Bristol. But I didn't really care for this game as much as I did for NASCAR The Game 2011, because I thought the gameplay was amazing. And of course, Jimmy Johnson in this one. I don't know about Danica Patrick or Juan Pablo Montoya. They're just names that I'm remembering. Denny Hamlin is in this one. Chase Elliott, I don't think who is Bill Elliott's son. Bill Elliott's not in it because he was retired. Same with the Labonte brothers, Bobby and Terry. That's pretty much about it for the NASCAR drivers. I mean, I think Scott Riggs is one of them, but Joey Logano is in this, and Brad Keselowski. I have to play some games of these, and I have to, like, see the names, and I'll probably, remember those names. Excuse me. All right, now the last three. Just trying to see what time it is. I mean, well, hang on. That's okay. I think it's like close to 12, but anyway. Next one I got is a PS3 game that has 2 games in one. It is MLB 2K13 and NBA 2K13. Now, I don't have a PS3 anymore because the PS3 system I had was not saving my progress. Like, every time I played a game, it would, like, save, some stuff and all that. So, I'm just not sure, like, if PS3, is saving, like, is not saving games anymore, like if you play something, but I think the system had something to do with it. I don't understand why it would do that, but I am trying to get an Xbox 360 now, and I'm going to see, if it's doing the same thing with that. I highly doubt that it is, but anyway, here are the games in here. I'm trying to, like, adjust the one game, make it nice and straight, that way, you can see the game itself, but somehow this one's giving me some trouble. I don't know why. It's embarrassing. All right. There we go. So there's the first one of MLB, and there is the second one. No instructions or anything like that, but we don't really need them. They're not hard to play. The 2K games of MLB, I mean, were pretty good and stuff. I mean, this features David Price on here and Kevin Durant. I don't really care for basketball like I used to. Well, I've watched like a lot of games of the Lakers and some of the Washington Wizards, but mostly when Michael Jordan was still playing. And yeah, I know people didn't really probably care when he played with the Washington Wizards. It was pretty much at the end of his career, because at that time he had retired, like, for the second time. The first time he did was in 1994 or something like that, to pursue a baseball career, which unfortunately didn't work out well. Like, he did pretty well in the minors, a little bit, but he did not really make the roster for the Chicago White Sox. I think he, like, participated in, like, one of those celebrity games and stuff when the Orioles had the 1993 All-Star game. So actually it was it was actually 93 when he retired, when the NBA season was over. So yeah, or somewhere around that time, or maybe it was 92, but I think it was 93, because the basketball season usually would end around the month of June. So yeah, that means he had retired around 93. And then he came back and won, I think, 3 more championships, or 2 more, something like that, and then retired again for a second time, and then played for the Washington Wizards. But like I said, the MLB 2K games are not really too bad. Just the thing is, I don't really care for them as much as I did with MLB The Show. But some of them, were pretty good, and some of them, were pretty much not all that great. But yeah, I mean, I saw this and I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get that, because it's got 2 games in one, which is pretty awesome. Next one I got is, there are the notifications again. I got MLB 11 The Show. This features Joe Mauer. I got this a while ago at Best Buy back in 2011, when you had to go to stores like Best Buy, GameStop, Kmart, Target, Walmart, any of those places, to buy video games. I mean, yes, they had GameStop, but there were places, where they would, like, get in copies of games and stuff. Like, if GameStop didn't have it, then, shut up, Alex. These notifications just won't stop. But anyway, yeah, I got this, my aunt got this for me at Best Buy in 2011, and this was about probably $60 at that time, because that's how much new games were. But now people mostly just buy them on the PlayStation Store, instead of, like, going out to GameStop, because sometimes you go out to GameStop and you reserve a game like Call of Duty or whatever and get, like, those special editions, and they hold it for you, but then they'll hold it for you for like 48 hours or something. And if you don't come and get it, then they have to sell it to somebody else. And yeah, I remember that, because I remember, please, notifications. I remember, like, back in the day, when I got, like, a copy of MLB 19 The Show for PS4, I traded in a bunch of games and all that, and I wound up getting MLB The Show 19, and they had the MVP edition, which was really awesome. it sold for like maybe $100, and I got over $100 worth of stuff. And I remember that. But this game is actually pretty good. This is the first MLB The Show to have the PlayStation Move thing, which is the camera and the thing, you know, you hold, which is basically like, excuse me, damn it, sorry, but yeah, the PlayStation camera, which you need, which always sells like maybe $10 or so, and the PlayStation Move thing, you know, the thing which is like the nunchuck or whatever, well, the like the Wii remote, like that sort of thing. Yeah, you needed like that stuff too, you know, to like play that kind of game, you know, or play MLB The Show. And personally, you know, I never did use the PlayStation Move thing, only for the Michael Jackson Experience that they had on PS3. And honestly, it was pretty good on PlayStation 3. I mean, it would take videos of you like doing the dance moves and all that, which I think was pretty awesome. Then they had the Kinect with Xbox 360, and honestly, I didn't think the Kinect was all that great. I mean, I did the Michael Jackson Experience on there, but it was extremely difficult because the dance moves were tough, you know, and then they had like bowling where you just do it yourself, you know, you just like hold the ball and all that, but bowling was extremely difficult. I got so frustrated, I was like, okay, I'm taking this back. But yeah, but for this one, this is a pretty good game. And the last one that I got, it is MLB 12 The Show. This one, unfortunately, is my least favorite of the MLB The Show games. Well, for one, the cover isn't really all that great. It's Adrian Gonzalez of the Boston Red Sox. But the introduction is really amazing because they show the highlights of game 162 from the 2011 season. And it was a battle between a bunch of teams. The Baltimore Orioles taking on the Boston Red Sox at Camden Yards. The New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays in Tampa Bay. The Houston Astros taking on the St. Louis Cardinals in Houston. And the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta. So the stipulation is pretty much if the Red Sox win and the Tampa Bay Rays lose, the Rays are out of the playoffs, the Red Sox are in for like the wild card spot pretty much because the Yankees had it secured, unfortunately. Then the stipulation with the other teams, if the St. Louis Cardinals lose and the Atlanta Braves win, the Braves are in the playoffs and the Cardinals are out. So we see like the highlights, like the home runs hit by the teams and all that, but pretty much in Houston, the St. Louis Cardinals wound up shutting out the Astros and won the game. So now it's pretty much up to the Braves and the Phillies game, but if the Braves win, they'll still like clinch it. But the Braves wound up losing to the Phillies in extra innings. I mean, there was some bad calls because I saw like a bad call on there and I was like, geez. I had a message on there, but okay. Anyway, and then we had the Braves losing to the Phillies in extra innings, and the Braves are out of the playoffs. So now we go over to the American League. The Orioles and Red Sox are in a rain delay, and the game, I believe, is 3-2 Red Sox or something like that. And the game is like in the 6th or 7th inning, and now we have like an hour rain delay, and I remember that too. The Yankees and the Rays, the Yankees got off to a 7-0 lead, but then the Rays wound up getting some runs and made it a 7-3 ball game, and then long story short, they made it 7-6, and then one of the batters hit a home run to tie it up 7-7. But now we go back to Baltimore, and it's about 11 p.m. Eastern time, and the game is about to get underway again. So now the Orioles are up in the bottom of the 9th with Jonathan Papelbon pitching, and he serves up a double to Chris Davis with 2 outs, and then they bring in a pinch runner, and now the next batter is Nolan Reimold, and Reimold hits a double into the gap, a ground rule double, which scores the runner, and now the game is tied 3-3. So now the Orioles have Robert Andino up, and if you don't know who he is, I'll tell you. He comes up to bat, and the runner, Reimold at second base, is hopefully trying to take the lead for the Orioles. So Andino hits a line drive to left, and Carl Crawford does not make the catch because it was trapped, and he throws it to home, and Nolan Reimold scores, and the Orioles win 4-3. The Orioles, of course, celebrate like they just won, a spot in the playoffs, but of course, most of the fans at Camden Yards were Red Sox fans, unfortunately. So pretty much, now we go back to Tampa Bay, and now it's up to the Rays, like what they're gonna do. And the Rays wound up hitting a walk-off homer from Evan Longoria, and it sends them to the playoffs. And the Red Sox dreams of going to the playoffs again winds up going down the drain, and that's pretty much it. And that's the highlight, they showed you on there. And this is also the one that's like the compatible and all that crap. But like I said, this is definitely my least favorite MLB The Show. Not my number one least favorite. My number one is definitely MLB The Show 18. I know it has a fan base and stuff, but I don't think the fan base is all that much. I mean, and it says so real, it's unreal, but again, this one wasn't really all the greatest. I mean, 13, the next one was a good one. 14 was a great one. 15 was good, but the cover athlete was a mistake. 16 was a great one. 17 was a really, really good one. 19 was good. 20 was okay. 21 was all right. 22 was a really good one. 23 was a disappointment. 24 was okay. 25 was a good one, and now they have the current 126, which I don't have yet, but eventually I will as soon as I get another system, because I don't have a PS5 or a Xbox One, but eventually I will. Probably on my day off Wednesday I might, or maybe Friday, one of those days. I don't really know, but there you go. That's it for that game, and that is my video game update. I'm sorry this took forever because of the fact that I had talk about a lot of stuff, but that's okay. So anyway, hope everybody enjoyed. Thanks for watching, as I gotta get ready for work now, unfortunately. Excuse me, but thanks again for joining in, everybody, and as always, like, comment, and subscribe, please. It's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, and you all take care, and thank you again for watching.